Well, one of the other things is the Quran. You mentioned the Quran. I would like to remind you that the Quran and the Bible came from the same place.
No, they did not.
Yes,
They
that's
absolutely
the trail
did not.
of the Abraham.
Allah and our true God are not the same, and we completely disagree with that.
And that's fine.
That is so typical, I'm sorry, of Christian dogma.
Your sole belief rests in this one document that you take as absolute truth. And that's not true.
The disciples preached the gospel. They're getting crucified and they're getting murdered.
Christianity was created, yes, thousands of years after Jesus' demise by numerous of scribes.
You would deny the existence of the right to somebody else to believe in their own prophet.
I didn't deny anyone.
And yes, you said, Muhammad was a false prophet.
He was a false prophet. He existed.
In your mind.
Where did the body go?
They ate him.
Yeah, maybe somebody wanted the robe.
They used to eat people to gain their powers.
What's up, church fam? I hope you're having a blessed day. And even if you're not part of this church fam, I'm glad you're here. Welcome to my channel, and I hope you enjoy the video. I've heard some pretty crazy defenses when it comes to trying to debunk Christianity, the divinity of Christ, or trying to debunk the resurrection. But apparently I haven't heard everything, because this one tops them all. But before we get into this, if you're new to the channel, my name is David and I'm a follower of Christ. I'm not a pastor, I'm not a theologian, and I'm definitely not a scholar. I'm just a dude who loves the Lord. I'm a servant and I'll forever be a student. So if you want to see more videos like this, consider subscribing to the channel. Now let's get into the video. So this is on the bridge. It's 1 Christian versus 13 atheists. Let's get straight into it.
You ladies. So my first prompt is the historical evidence for Jesus Christ, including his life, crucifixion, and resurrection, is evidence that God exists. Ultimately, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ is a well-known historical attested event, not only from biblical sources, but also extra biblical sources. And I know often a lot of atheists are like, oh, if God's real, why doesn't he prove it? How come he just doesn't come down and show us? But the thing is, he already did. He came through Jesus Christ. And this was actually confirmed by historical evidence outside the Bible. So just wanted to know your thoughts about that.
I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that's true because people have always historically created evidence for what they want to be true so they can control others.
Mm-hmm.
If someone such as Jesus existed, I personally believe he was a revolutionary and perhaps destroyed for his beliefs, and then his words used to create more propaganda. Same as how Martin Luther King is used now to preach peaceful protest when really he was asking us to be more demanding of our rights. But yeah, I don't want to go into monologue, obviously.
Well, that's interesting.
Yes, that's
so
my
you
position.
said you don't believe that happened. Have you actually done the research, or is it just like a blind faith type of thing?
I have. I have studied it
So
as
what
well.
have you found based on the historical evidence?
There's not really a lot of historical scientific evidence.
There's a lot. There's Roman historians, there's Jewish historians, there are several historians outside the Bible. Those who didn't even like Jesus, they had no skin in the game regarding Jesus. We have Josephus, we have Tacitus, we have Pliny the Younger. These are all people who despise Christians but still recorded the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. So, the Bible says, seek me and you'll find me if you search for me with all your heart. And ultimately, I feel like the reason why you don't want to see is because you haven't really looked. You said you found the evidence, but you can't really show it. So I'm not just making up a story. Jesus actually died. He was crucified under Pontius Pilate, the Roman Empire, and this is historical evidence.
I don't disbelieve that Jesus lived or died. Absolutely, and I think that that's probably true.
Just going back to what she said, there's plenty of evidence that Jesus existed, right? Like she mentioned Josephus, Tacitus. You have these historical authors who wrote about Jesus' life and his crucifixion, right? I think at this point, we all agree that there was a man named Jesus who lived in first century Judea and was crucified under the Roman Empire. Now, was he the Son of God? Okay, that's a claim, right? Now, we can look at the evidence of that, but to say that he didn't exist or there was evidence made to look like this man existed. I mean, where's the evidence of that, right? And then we have all the biblical authors too, right? You have to take that into consideration also. So, I mean, I think the question, did Jesus even exist? I think that's just an old argument that it doesn't hold up at all, doesn't hold any weight.
But the resurrection is another thing. There's never been any evidence of a resurrection. And you say that there's evidence that I think he was a prophet, like the Buddha or Muhammad, but I don't believe that he came back. And you've got to figure that at the time when Jesus did live, most of the people were illiterate. They couldn't read.
She said Jesus was a prophet like the Buddha, but you're atheist, you don't believe in God, you don't believe in a higher power. So who is he a prophet of, right? A prophet, let's say, is a middleman between a higher power and humanity, right? So if you think he's a prophet, who is he a prophet of? That would be my question.
Right. And if you've ever played telephone when you were a kid, one person starts a story, then it goes to the next, then it goes to the next. And by the end, it changes. And the Bible was not written until 300 some odd years after Jesus died. So who knows what happened to the story?
That's not true. So you said,
as Leonessa, I've researched it,
yeah.
and
Well, let me
it is
correct
absolutely
your facts.
true.
Let me just respond. She said the Bible was written 300 years after Jesus died. That's not true.
That's wild.
The Bible has been written 2,000 years, 2,000 years across 40 different authors. You may have meant the Gospels may have been written after Jesus died, but they weren't written 300 years later. They were written about maybe 40 to 60 years after he died. But we also have Old Testament prophecies that came 400 years before Jesus, prophesying his crucifixion, prophesying his resurrection. So just to fact check you on that, even with the game of telephone that you say, we have the Gospels, the 4 eyewitness accounts. They all have the same systematic message. So even amongst the Gospels of these 4 eyewitness accounts, they are the same. And we have manuscripts, thousands of them, that actually show that they're all consistent. Yes.
I do believe there is some documentation that this person called Jesus existed. I do believe there's documentation, not extensive, but some that does document the crucifixion. My hypothesis is that he was the Martin Luther King, the Mahatma Gandhi, the Bernie Sanders of his day. He was the person who was rebelling against the theocracy that existed with the Sadducees and Pharisees in line with the banksters, the bankers, and the Roman Empire, the corporate and the merger of state and government. And he preached a gospel of social justice and doing unto others and equality. I do not deny any of that, because that is true. I really believe that that there was a Jesus, and he served a very important purpose. But on the other hand, he got taken over by Paul, who I had the idea.
Let me respond back to your one claim.
Okay, go ahead.
So you said that he was like the Martin Luther King of the time. Jesus came as a suffering servant. The Jewish people, they thought that he would come to rise as king so that he can overthrow the Roman Empire. But even when it comes to his crucifixion, low-key, the gospel is one of the most embarrassing stories. If they're going to think of the gospel, they're not going to say that their king was crucified on the cross. Crucifixion was so embarrassing. It was for the lowest of the low. Even Roman citizens were not even allowed to be crucified because it was so desecrating. Not only that, when they preached the gospel, they had a woman that of all people, a woman go to preach the gospel message because all the disciples, the men disciples had. How embarrassing is that? Not only that, I mean, you just...
Wait, are you saying it's embarrassing because a woman is preaching?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying in that time, okay, I'm pro-woman, okay, I'm a woman myself, but I'm saying during that time, like, the God, and then not only that, after the disciples preach the gospel, they're getting crucified and they're getting murdered and martyred for this story. So I don't understand how that's like this manifesto Martin Luther King Jr. or by Bernie Sanders, because it was a horrific message that ultimately ended in death for everybody. But it preached one central message, that Christ is king and he died, rose, and is going to come back so that we can ultimately be saved.
I would even like to, okay, that's your belief.
It's the truth, babes. It's all historical.
That's your belief.
It's historical.
Because if we're talking about truth, there's lots of truth
History
out
books.
there.
I didn't make it
You
up.
know, we don't even, this is like a minute belief
It's not.
in the vast existence of the universe.
It's minute, but we have AD and BC that documents our entire date system.
Right.
And yes, you mentioned a lot of people that have documented this work. And I would like to say, a lot of the people that you did mention were ones of the perpetrator of the implementation of this religion. They were the ones that were actually putting this religion into faith, into consensus across the world.
What do you mean?
If
I
you say the Roman Empire,
Yeah.
the Roman Empire was one who had the largest army, was one of the first to implement Christianity as a national rule in Rome. Yes. And then obviously with colonization and with the creation of the Vatican, which is the church, and the Vatican blessed kings and queens of different cultures to then go colonize other nations and implement religion, right?
Yeah, it's not religion for us, though. It's relationship. It's spreading the message and the gospel of Jesus Christ. So, yes, there have been like people who have set up rules in religion to dominate people. We've had the
What's crazy to me is that this lady makes some wild claims and she backs it up with no evidence. And I find that a lot with people who hate Christianity, people who hate Christians. They have this like false view on Christianity, right? But they never back it up with any evidence. It's like they grew up just learning these false claims or ideas and they just spout the same nonsense they hear other people say, but they don't ever do the digging themselves. They don't ever open up the Bible and read it. They don't ever look at the historical evidence. And it's the same with this lady. She said the historians that the Christian mentioned that they were part of this conspiracy or something to push Christianity, right, to make it bigger. But Josephus wasn't a Christian. He was a Jew, right? He just wrote about Jesus. He wasn't Christian. He didn't follow Christ. And the same with Tacitus. He was pagan. He was Roman and he was pagan. He didn't follow Christ. He wasn't a Christian. And as far as the Roman Empire, that was 300 years. She's probably talking about Constantine, right? Constantine converts to Christianity and it becomes more acceptable, right? But you're talking about 300 years after the life of Christ. Right. In that 300 years, you have Christians getting murdered, thousands of Christians getting murdered. What about them? I mean, were they part of this conspiracy too? You know, how do you get people to die for a lie? Think about that. It don't take a lot of common sense to think about that. People died. They got martyred. Right. How do you get people to die for a lie?
come to Africa and like enslave Africans in the name of religion, and that's demonic, and I completely denounce that. That's horrific. So, yeah.
That was just a segue for right now. We
Okay.
can come back to that. But
Sure.
the point I was really trying to make is even like, yeah, that's your belief. But let's not forget as well that even the story of the birth of Jesus is a story that has appeared across lots of different cultures. It's not unique
The
to the
virgin
Christian.
birth is not unique.
It's not. It
Can you
was
tell me where else?
a lot
it's
of the
been?
Bible stories are taken from different cultures.
Do you have any evidence to show any other types of virgin births that happened?
I mean, I think I would like to answer your prompt
told you it's
first.
the
I
same
don't believe that
false
just because
claims over
Jesus
and over.
existed, that it automatically means that your version of God exists. Humanity is 300,000 years old. This religion and Jesus died 2,000 years ago. So it's hard for me to believe that somebody who died or existed 2,000 years ago in the 300,000 year history of humanity, that is the only evidence that we have that a God exists. My ancestors in the Caribbean and in Africa believed in lots of things, but mostly they believed in what they could see. They believed in taking care of the earth. They believed in taking care of animals, being stewards of their environment. That was God to them. And I would never deny them that because that's where I come from, right? But my personal stance on a God existing is also rooted in my reality. I've never had a God speak to me
What does
personally.
that mean?
I was raised Christian because of colonization. My ancestors were forced to convert to Christianity. They were forced to learn how to read and write because they were considered illiterate. And I have a huge problem with Christians trying to espouse that the fact that Jesus's life was recorded when so many of our ancestors didn't have the ability to read or write in the same way that Abrahamic religions did, that means that their experiences were invalid and that the things that they believed in are invalid.
Okay.
So for me, when you say, well, this is recorded history, for me, that sounds really disrespectful because so much of my ancestry were considered illiterate and were considered animals because they didn't have the same ability to read and write in the same way that the people who wrote the Bible did.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So you mentioned about the time aspect, like the world has been here for 300,000 years. Well, we can speculate. I'm not even sure, but whether or not that happened or not.
There is evidence that humanity has existed for
Millions of years.
We'll say
300,000 years.
300,000 years for the sake
I mean,
of-
you're talking about
Can I
recorded
finish?
history, so I'm just putting the recorded history back to you.
Let me answer. Let's say 300,000 years. Okay. Jesus is eternal. So whether it's 300 years ago or not, he existed before the world existed. And is historical evidence the only way to prove that Jesus is God? No, but that's just for the sake of the prompt. Not only that, you can't say that people who are illiterate can't preserve a message. We have Muhammad who didn't read or write, but a whole Quran was produced. Not only that, the true and living God, if he can stand the test of time, he's going to allow some sort of evidence to be manifested or shown. So I respect that. And for the sake of this argument, it's about historical evidence, which is what we're relying on. So
Right, and the historical evidence has been used to persecute and
it
subjugate
absolutely has.
my
which
ancestors.
Yes, I have, which I presented that as well. Just because it happened didn't mean it's actually right. It actually goes against the Bible. But again, for the sake of the prompt, I'm showing you that because of historical evidence, Jesus Christ is God. And using the Bible is what we are able to see. We are able to see Old Testament prophecies. We have over 300 Old Testament prophecies that have come to pass. We have the documentation of his crucifixion. We also have the empty tomb. No one can explain where his body went. Can you explain?
Well, I
since
can
you're
explain
laughing?
that.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you said so many things that I'd love to respond to, but we're
Sure.
limited for time.
Look, bear with me because they're about to get to a point that is just crazy. It's crazy. But this lady in the white jacket, I mean, she said her truth is rooted in her reality or something like that. I mean, what does that even mean?
Well, one of the other things is the Quran. You mentioned the Quran. I would like to remind you that the Quran and the Bible came from the same place.
No, they did not.
Yes,
They
that's
absolutely
the
did
trail
not.
of the
Allah
Abrahamic.
and our true God are not the same, and we completely disagree with that.
And that's fine.
I'm
But
telling
that's
you,
the-
you don't even read the Bible or the Quran. I've studied both.
I will-
I'm telling you. I mean,
Wait, that's a pretty
okay.
bold statement.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
my
an
apologies.
assumption
If
that
I-
a lot of us
okay, if
weren't
I
raised
assumed
Christian and haven't
okay.
gone to Bible
If I
study.
assume, my apologies. Have you read the Bible and the Quran?
I was raised both Muslim and Christian.
Okay, my apologies for assuming
Africa.
that. Okay,
But
so
have
why
you
do you
read
say that the Bible and the Quran came from the same person?
Because it did. The
How so?
Abrahamic religions have a trail of Judaism and Christianity and Islam, and it's from the Tanakh that the Torah was, which is the laws that the Bible or the Quran are basically created through. And the Quran is supposed to be the more precise version of it.
They're
But
precise.
Christianity was created, yes, thousands of years after Jesus' demise by numerous of scribes and, through a period of time. And so a lot of different people have implemented their own versions of what they want people to believe, of what they want people like you, vulnerable people,
I'm
that
not
are
vulnerable.
looking
I
for...
am completely strengthened by the Jesus Christ. I'm not.
And
vulnerable
exactly,
anyway, so
Amen.
because...
please don't put that on me because I am not. I'm victorious through Jesus Christ.
Ashe. And I love that for you.
Yeah. So let me respond to your prompt. So you said that the Quran and the Bible are the same. completely wrong. Muhammad is a false prophet. He came to completely turn people away from Jesus. So even the Quran says that the Bible, I'm just one second, the Quran says that Allah confirms the Torah and the Gospel, but they are also completely a mismatch. So for example, the Quran says that it was only made to appear that Jesus was crucified, but that is contrary to the Bible. So we also hear that Muhammad is the last and final prophet, but Jesus said it is finished. So although it kind of stems from it, it's not the same.
That is so typical, I'm sorry, of Christian dogma, that you would deny the existence of the right to somebody else to believe in their own prophet.
I didn't deny anyone.
And yes, you said,
didn't.
Muhammad was a false
He
prophet.
was a false prophet. He existed.
In
but
your mind.
no, according
But to
the
many
Bible.
people, no.
Okay.
I was raised as an atheist, and my core belief is in science and provable fact. And a lot of the things that you take on faith are completely disproven by scientific fact. And you
Like
say there's
what?
evidence of, an empty tomb is evidence of nothing.
So where's the body?
maybe
They
somebody
ate
wanted,
him.
yeah, maybe somebody wanted the robe.
Used to eat people to gain their
Yikes.
powers, and
Okay,
if they
so what
believed
about
Jesus
it
was
was heavily
powerful, they probably
guarded? So
ate
how
him.
did they get in there and eat Jesus? You don't know? Just an assumption? Yeah.
Did you hear what she said? She said, first, the lady with all the stones, she says, an empty tomb is evidence of nothing, right? And she says, what happened to the body then? And the other lady says, they ate him. They ate him. They used to eat people. That's literally what she said, that they ate Jesus. Who's they? I don't know. Let's see if they get into it. But that's her claim, that they ate Jesus. That's what happened to his body.
We get up to the fact that there was a Jesus, and there was, seems to have been documented from outside sources. You base your opinions only on one document, and you use the other things that you read to justify what you have been taught over and over and over again. There's a huge leap between crucifixion and this fantasy of Jesus flying up, the resurrection, the going up into the sky, and the coming back, all the fantasy. But those things, if you really study, Mesopotamia had many, many incidences of belief of the virgin birth, of the prophet that was killed. There's many, many things that are documented all over, but your sole belief rests in this one document that
A lot of people make this claim there was virgin births and the prophet or the 12 disciples and all that's been debunked. You can look it up. There's nothing that's specifically like Christianity, right? People try to compare it to other ancient religions, and if you do the digging, you do the legwork, you're gonna see that none of them are like Christianity at all.
you take as absolute truth. And that's not true. You have to study and always leave room that there are other ways to look at things.
Yeah, totally. Just to correct you on that, you said I'm looking at one document. The whole prompt is that there are historical evidence. As I mentioned, that there's Josephus, there's Tychicus, there's Pilate,
But resurrection and all of the
And the Bible,
that you have.
the Bible is not just one document. It's 40 documents, right? It's multiple books. It's not just he's saying one document like the Bible was written in one day and it's just an evidence from one single person, but it's not. That claim in itself is false.
It's not fantasy, it's
That stuff
miraculous.
is fantasy.
And I'm saying, like, if you think it's fantasy, then explain the empty tomb. Where did the body go?
Who knows?
Yeah, so you have to
If
even
there was
Definitely
an
think
empty
they
tomb.
ate him. You still have a
They ate
ritual
him.
of eating the body and blood
Yeah,
of
so
Christ.
that's what I'm saying.
They literally ate people
so I'm
back then. They ate
okay.
black people for
Right,
one
so
to
I'm
gain our
saying-
powers.
Yeah, so
So
I'm
if they
saying
thought
the,
Jesus
the
was
tomb
powerful,
was heavily guarded. So who ate it? Who ate it? Where were the bones? Did they eat the bones too? They fed them pigs? Like, what's going on? Okay.
That's just wild. That's a wild claim. That's the end of that round. I think the video goes on. There's 2 other rounds. She starts debating the women in the background. I think she has like 2 other groups. I'll put the link in the description if you want to watch the full video. But man, it's just, you hear the same arguments over and over and over. They get boring pretty much, right? I mean, nobody comes with any substance. People just have these false claims that they've heard. There's been virgin births, and there's, I mean, this lady said they ate him. Where do you get that from, right? Where do you get that from, that they ate Jesus? How did they eat him, right? Were the Roman guards in on it? Did the Roman guards eat him? Who ate him? Did his disciples eat him? Where are the bones? It doesn't make any sense, right? And it just goes to show you that people will come up with anything to not believe the truth, right? To turn away from Christ. People will come up with just so many false claims and answers because they don't want to believe in Jesus, right? The Bible says that the gospel is foolishness to people who are perishing. People, they feel so confident, or let's say this, they're so comfortable with their lifestyles that if you come into Christianity, you have to deny yourself. But if you're comfortable with your lifestyle, that's a hard thing to do, right? And some people don't want that. They don't want change. They don't want to deny themselves. They like the way they're living, right? I want to live in the world. I want to believe that there is no God, that I'm the God of my universe. I can answer to myself. I can make my own choices. I have no consequences, right? People like that. People want to believe that, and they want to stay in that life. And we know that, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Not because we think that, because he said that. And the Bible has plenty of evidence. There's plenty of, just like the Christian lady said, there's so much evidence out there that's outside of the Bible, right? People that weren't Christians, people that disliked Christianity, but still wrote about Jesus because he was real. People died, were martyred because they believed in him, because what they saw with their own eyes, they knew to be true, that they were willing to give up their life. It was something that they felt, you can take my life right now. I'm good, because I know he was the Son of God. Who else would do that? Who would do that knowing that he wasn't who he said he was, right? If Jesus was not who he said he was, he didn't do the miracles that the Bible said he did, right? He didn't resurrect. He didn't die, get crucified, and resurrect, and then ascended to heaven, right? If he didn't do that and people knew that it was all a lie, why would they give their life for it? Like I said, who would give their life for a lie? But anyways, let me know what you guys thought about the video. Let me know what you thought about these claims that these atheists gave. I thought they were pretty lame. I didn't think anybody gave any good response. I just thought it was crazy that they think Jesus was eating, and it looked like most of them agreed with her. That's a crazy one to me. But like I said, drop a comment, hit the like button if you like the video. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Pray for me. I'll be praying for y'all. I love y'all. I'm out.